National Bureau of Investigation started the investigation of what we call the Balintang Channel incident upon instructions of the President, which were forced through the Secretary of Justice. The memorandum of Secretary de Lima dated May 14, 2013 stated that the NBI should conduct an exhaustive and independent fact-finding investigation to determine what truly happened in the incident, and if anyone should be accountable for the death of the Taiwanese fisherman. The NBI conducted the probe both in the Philippines and Taiwan, where it sent a team to examine evidence gathered by the Taiwanese investigators. This includes the specimen bullets recovered from the Taiwanese vessel, as well as an ocular inspection of the boat itself. The team also asked clarificatory questions addressed to the Taiwanese fishermen in a process conducted through the Taiwan Prosecutor's Office. In the Philippines, the NBI received the sworn statements of the Philippine Coast Guard and Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources personnel and asked clarificatory questions from the PIAs. Ballistics and forensics examinations were also conducted on firearms used in the operation, as well as the Philippine patrol craft used in the incident, the BIFAR MCS 3001. For its parallel probe, a Taiwanese investigation team was allowed to examine the evidence gathered by the NBI in the Philippines. The NBI report consists of 84 pages, excluding voluminous annexes, and was submitted to the Office of the President through the Secretary of Justice on June 10, 2013, for exactly 1 month after the incident. We will now expound on the findings of the NBI as contained in the report submitted to the President. The incident happened on May 9, 2013 between 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock in the morning. The location was east of Balintang Channel, approximately 40 nautical miles from the Philippines Base 9. Balintang Channel is located between Batanes Island in the north and Babuyan Island in the south. The area is well within the Philippines' 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone, where the Philippines exercises jurisdiction in terms of fishery law enforcement, including boarding and inspection of vessels and the arrest of offenders. BIFAR MCS 3001 was therefore lawfully patrolling the waters of the area in fulfillment of its crew's mandate to enforce Philippine fisheries laws and jurisdiction over its EEZ under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas, or HOMICIDE. When the incident happened, the Philippine patrol craft was manned by 17 Philippine Coast Guard and 3 BIFAR personnel, led by PCG Commanding Officer Arnold de la Cruz. While on patrol, the Philippine patrol craft encountered 2 Taiwanese fishing vessels. Under BIFAR protocols, whenever a foreign fishing vessel is in Philippine waters, it is presumed that it is engaged in poaching. The next step to be taken by a Philippine maritime law enforcement vessel, such as the BIFAR MCS 3001, is to alert the fishing vessel to stop for boarding and inspection. What is clear is that the PCG first used the ship's loudspeaker and horn in order for the Taiwanese boat to stop. What is also clear is that the smaller Taiwanese fishing vessel refused to stop and be boarded by the Philippine patrol craft. The PCG then fired warning shots. Eventually, they fired directly at the fishing boat. Unfortunately, a Taiwanese fisherman on board the fishing boat was hit by the gunfire and died. The PCG rules of engagement, or ROE, allows the use of firearms only when there is grave or imminent threat to life of the PCG. This grave or imminent threat to life usually arises when the other vessel being chased uses firearms or any other lethal weapon against the PCG crew. In this case, the Taiwanese fishermen did not have firearms. The only way they can threaten the lives of the PCG crew is by using their patrol boat as a weapon to ram the Philippine patrol craft. According to the accounts of the PCG and BIFAR personnel, the Taiwanese boat attempted to ram the Philippine patrol craft on at least 3 occasions. As you will know, A video recording was taken of the incident by a member of the PCG crew who was using his personal video recorder. Out of the 3 occasions described by the PCG in their sworn statements, only 1 occasion was clearly captured in the video footage. This footage showed a Taiwanese fisherman going outside of the interior or pilot house of the fishing boat to signal or wait at the patrol craft. During this time, shots could be heard being fired, although it is not clear whether these were warning shots fired on the water or shots directed at the fishing boat. According to the PCG, at this point, they were still firing only warning shots. A few minutes after this, the fishing boat stopped and the patrol craft glided towards it until the 2 vessels were completely side by side. The PCG then prepared for boarding procedures. The video footages then showed the fishing boat suddenly revving its engine and backing away from its parallel position with the patrol craft until it totally disengaged and accelerated forward at full power. According to the PCG, it is at this point that the fishing boat almost rammed the patrol craft. However, based on a viewing of the video, the attempt to ram the patrol craft is not clear. It is possible that the fishing boat merely intended to break off and get away from the patrol craft, but not to ram it. This is the only portion of the video footage that can be considered as evidence of an attempted ramming or a threat to the lives of the PCG crew to justify the use of firearms. However, the video footage as evidence proving this occasion of an attempted ramming is inconclusive. As far as the investigation is concerned, the PCG still failed to prove, using the video as evidence, that the fishing boat really attempted to ram the patrol craft. Because the video is inconclusive, the only remaining evidence that the PCG has to prove the attempted ramming is their sworn statement. On the other hand, the Taiwanese fishermen directly contradict the PCG story that the fishing boat attempted to ram the patrol craft. Between the 2 opposing versions of whether or not there was an attempted ramming, the factual issue boils down to a question on whose statements are more credible and which among the 2 opposing crews is telling the truth. The determination on whose version is credible rests with the investigating prosecutor or the trial judge. During the preliminary investigation or courtroom trial, both sides are free to present additional evidence to prove their version and disprove the version of the other side. Since the claim of an attempted ramming is a positive allegation that an incident did happen, the burden of proof is on the PCG, as against the negative allegation of the Taiwanese fisherman that they did not attempt to ram the Philippine patrol craft. The PCG had to show positive evidence, while the Taiwanese fisherman only had to rely on the absence of any physical evidence of an attempted ramming. There is no positive evidence of attempted ramming other than the sworn statement of the PCG. Because of this, the PCG was not able to establish that there was imminent and great threat to their lives that announced the use of firearms against the fishing boat. They were also not able to establish the justifying circumstance of self-defense. As we all know, the shooting resulted in the death of a Taiwanese fisherman. The bullet that killed him was traced to a specific firearm used by a PCG personnel. Aside from this particular PCG member, 7 other PCG personnel, including the commanding officer, admittedly fired direct shots at the fishing boat. The collective act of these 8 PCG personnel of shooting directly at the fishing boat gives rise to conspiracy. All 8 personnel, therefore, can be held liable for the death of the Taiwanese fisherman. The inquiry report recommends that criminal charges of homicide be filed against these 8 PCG personnel. Charges of obstruction of justice will also be brought against the commanding officer, the executive officer, and 2 other PCG personnel because they tampered with the evidence during the investigation. These PCG officers and personnel falsified a gunnery report which reduced the rounds of ammunition used in the incident by about 72 rounds. They also spliced the video footages taken of the incident, cutting out vital portions of the video recording which they then presented to the NBI investigators. However, a more complete version of the video recording was eventually submitted to the NBI. The criminal charges will be filed with the National Prosecution Service, which will designate a panel of prosecutors, perhaps, to conduct a departmental investigation of the 8 PCG personnel. It is up to the panel of prosecutors what charges will be filed in court against the 8 PCG personnel after determination of probable cause. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.